March 5th, 1977. Police fish another plastic bag from the Hudson River. Inside, body parts. Another man, another mystery, another ghost swallowed by New York City. Between 1975 and 1977, 6 men, maybe more, were murdered, dismembered, and dumped into the river. The papers called them the bag murders. And somewhere inside that murky water sits one man's name, Paul Bateson. Radiology tech, film extra, convicted killer. Maybe a serial killer. Or maybe just the perfect scapegoat.
And then, 3 years later, William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, releases Cruising, a fever dream of leather bars, police corruption, and ritualistic killings in New York's gay scene. Was Friedkin exploiting a tragedy? Or was he documenting a hidden history, one the NYPD never fully solved?
Welcome back to the Fear Archive, the podcast where we dig up the shadows hiding beneath pop culture, true crime, and the blurred line between the two.
Tonight, we're heading into 1970s New York City, a city alive, chaotic, and dangerous, to untangle the strange connection between a convicted murderer, a string of unsolved dismemberments, and one of the most controversial films ever made.
This is the story of Paul Bateson and the bodies in the Hudson.
Before we get into it, we want to acknowledge that Cruising has been deeply controversial for its portrayal of queer communities, especially the leather scene. While it's tied to real crimes, the film reflects a lot of fear and sensationalism. We're exploring it as a cultural artifact, but not without recognizing the harm it may have caused. Paul Bateson was born in Lansdale, Pennsylvania in 1940. Radiology tech by day, nightlife explorer by night. He was soft-spoken, bright, and lonely.
In 1972, Bateson lands a weird Hollywood footnote. He plays an extra in The Exorcist. Not just any extra either. He's the radiology tech in one of the movie's most infamous scenes, the cerebral angiography sequence. That horrifying screech of the blood pressure monitor, that's Bateson's hand in the frame.
Flash forward to September 14th, 1977.
Holy shit. That's today. Sorry.
It is. I don't know when this is airing, but that's when we're recording it, y'all. Film critic Addison Verrill is found bludgeoned and stabbed to death in his Greenwich Village apartment. Police hit a wall until they get a call from a man claiming to have killed him. That call leads them to Bateson.
So Bateson confesses to killing Verrill, but later recants. He says he was blackout drunk and that he barely remembers anything. There's no physical evidence tying him to the murder, but he's convicted anyway in 1979, and he's sentenced to 20 years to life.
Here's where things get a little murkier. When interrogating Bateson, NYPD detectives tell him they know he's killed more men, that he's connected to the bag murders, a string of dismembered bodies found in plastic garbage bags floating in the Hudson River.
And they claim that Bateson confessed to it, actually bragging that he killed a bunch of guys, that guys he met in leather bars, cut him up right in his apartment, dumped him straight into the river.
Yeah, I think with this case, that when I was looking into it, it's kind of crazy that there's no physical evidence. And I mean, I want to bring this up later when we compare the movie that we're talking about tonight in that scene. But I mean, I think we know police can be corrupt. And especially back in the day when they're trying to get a confession. I mean, back then there wasn't that much DNA and everything. So
it didn't exist.
Yeah. So
well, not that DNA didn't exist, but they didn't have the means at the time.
Hey, Mike, are you a DNA denier?
Not really. Anyway.
Yeah.
We're not a political podcast.
I was just kidding. Let's not even put that in the universe.
Sorry.
Okay.
Cut
but anyway, no, don't cut it.
Don't cut it.
Leave it. I want everyone to know you are a DNA denier. So
DNA is not real.
So there's no physical evidence, no witnesses, and he never faced charges for any of the bag murders.
Yeah, 6 men, all dismembered, all dumped, all unsolved. Other interesting thing about this, the bags that they were dumped in, and Friedkin, I'm jumping ahead of myself and pulling in the movie, but on the commentary for Cruising, Friedkin talks about how the black bags actually said NYU. So they were directly correlated to NYU, a hospital.
Interesting.
So really strange stuff. But yeah, 6 men, all dismembered, all dumped, all unsolved.
And William Friedkin actually visits him at Rikers Island. The director, he's fresh off The Exorcist and fascinated. I mean, I think personally I would be too, right? If someone who was a background actor on my film was found to be a murderer in prison for it, convicted, serving
Possible
time.
Prolific serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would go down there and be like, hey, man, what's up? Tell me more. Yeah, and so while he was there, he allegedly told him that he did murder more. But again, not recorded. It's hearsay.
There's conflicting pieces on this too, Amanda. So there's conflicting pieces. Like, yeah, Bateson was, really, he's a blackout drunk, right? So he said that he very well may have murdered those men, but he can only remember one. So that has my feelers up. And like, when we get to our connecting piece, like, I want to talk more about this, but like, I definitely think there was something going on, and I wanted to just piggyback and throw something out there. Like the spirit of the times, no matter if you work for New York City or if you work for LA or St. Louis or wherever, was Chicago, whatever major city you were a cop or specifically like a homicide detective for, like, it became about clearing cases. That was the thing. Like, how many of these cases can you say are solved? And this is like one of those cases that, like, I'm sure they wanted to clear the fuck off their register, right? Of backlogs, and like, this guy was. We'll get. I want to say I think he was. I think that he was a patsy.
I do want to talk about the victim for a second. Addison Verrill. He is actually a film journalist for Variety, and kind of interesting that it's a journalist that was murdered out of anyone he could have chosen. Someone who reports. I don't know. Thought that was a fun little, I shouldn't say fun. I thought that was a nice little tidbit that I saw.
Yeah, that's absolutely, it's interesting. It's almost kind of like what was Addison Verrill? What did he know that he was going to write about? Is that, because that's what I pulled from that. Am I trekking into the right level of darkness?
He killed a journalist and then confessed after calling a journalist and telling another journalist.
It's spooky.
Like, what's up with that?
I don't know.
Did he want to be a journalist, but he was, doomed to be a radiologist? I think they make a lot of money, though. Well, nowadays
they do. They do. I think he was just a tech, though. I don't think he was a doctor, but they still make money,
right?
But maybe I don't know. This is like, I hate to say this. I'm totally going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but this was the golden age of these. It's like rogues gallery of serial killers. Now we have the murderous radiologist tech. I mean, he fits right up there with Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy and all the rest of the cavalcade of depravity. But all right, so by 1980, Friedkin releases Cruising, which Al Pacino stars in as he's an undercover cop infiltrating Manhattan's S&M scene to catch a serial killer targeting gay men. I will stop back and say this. That was the log line for this film, right? That's how it was thrown around. But I do want to also preload here that the S&M scene and the gay leather scene are two completely different scenes of the time, right? But the gist of the story is, yes, it's an undercover cop going into a world he's unaware of to search a killer. And, well, what is that? What is the end result of that? So this movie, right, it is based off of a novel that actually was a little softer, actually tremendously softer, but was published in the early 70s. You know, Friedkin originally wanted nothing to do with this story. It was originally something that he passed on. He was offered it in the early 70s when he was making The French Connection, so like right before The Exorcist, and they almost gave.
I love The French Connection.
Oh, me too. It's so good. I recently rewatched it. I'm like, holy shit, such a good movie. But you know, Friedkin in the commentary for the last one of the last commentaries Friedkin recorded, he mentions this. Do you want to guess who was the who the producer wanted to direct this movie originally?
Tell me.
Steven Spielberg.
Not an Amblin film.
No, totally not. Totally not. But it was like right after Spielberg did Sugarland Express, and they wanted him to do Cruising. And, you know, more on that in a bit. But, yeah, interesting how it turned out.
1979, Bateson was convicted of Verrill's murder and sentenced to 20 years to life. He served 24 years and was released on parole in 2003. And now he's presumably living somewhere out there.
Yeah. Oh,
Hi, Bateson.
Paul, I want to talk to you. I am here to listen, and I would love to hear your side.
I don't want to talk to you. You can talk to Mike.
Anyway, so here's the thing though with Paul. So Paul was released, but the bag murders were never solved. Here we have a string of brutal homicides and ritualistic mutilations that have no physical being attached to perpetrating them.
I have a question.
Yes.
Was Addison Verrill chopped up like the bag murders?
I'd imagine there had to have been some sort. You know, it's very hard. So here's the thing. So Amanda, you're in New York, like at least with the New York City Medical Examiner, a lot of those records are extremely hard to find. With LA, you could do a FOIA request, and you can get it. You just have to pay a fee, right? For some reason, New York, you can't. So a lot of that stuff is.
What are they hiding?
I don't know. I mean, I'd imagine he probably was mutilated and cut up. Yeah,
well, you know why I posed the question? It's because they're clearly connecting bag murders with the Addison Verrill murder, but I didn't see anything online about how it was done. So
no, there's a lot. It's really gray.
Yeah.
But I would imagine they were incredibly violent, violent murders.
Well, let me ask you this.
His murder, yes.
What do you think about the police theory, like that he was involved in the bag murders? Do you think there's any merit to that?
I don't know. I think that this was one of those situations where there were probably multiple killers active at the same time, which seems like great fodder for a horror film, right? But I think that that is my theory. Like, I don't think that Paul Bateson killed all of those people. Hot take, maybe.
So I guess, that would take him from people thinking that he's a serial killer to just being a murderer.
I think he was a scapegoat. I'm not sympathizing. I'm not sympathizing. And in no way am I sympathizing, because there are people whose lives were lost, right? But like, I think the easiest thing for them to do at the time was to find somebody who fit the profile who even knows if they had a solid profile, but like to find somebody who fit the MO and throw out as many horrific unsolved crimes as they possibly could and connect them to him.
Were the bag murders also were the victims ever identified? Do you know?
Yes.
Were they
I
queer
think
men?
partially. Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
dang. Yeah. I mean, I want to get into a timeline in a little while, but around that time, there was a lot of heightened sensitivity around the queer community, and it wouldn't surprise me that there were some hate crimes being carried out. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's fucked up and unfortunate.
Yeah, no, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but I just want to say, I mean, same time period, right? Like you had the Atlanta child murders going on, and that was pinned on Wayne Williams, who probably killed someone, right? Like Wayne
Mhm.
Williams is in prison. He definitely murdered at least one person. But to pin all of those murders on Wayne Williams, right? He's, African American man, right? He was also, I believe Wayne Williams was queer. But they pinned all of the Atlanta child murders on Wayne Williams. And this is also fodder for another great episode, I think. But I don't think Wayne Williams killed those kids. And for anyone to just bring our audience up to speed, if you don't know about the Atlanta child murders, it was a string of murders of African American children in Atlanta, Georgia in the 1970s. And Wayne Williams became the boogeyman who was highlighted as the suspect in those murders and convicted of those murders. But Wayne only confessed to one of those murders. So, looking at this in retrospect, I think it's very similar circumstances. But here we have a man, we have Paul Bateson, we have a queer man in New York City in the early 80s who is essentially being railroaded while he may have murdered one person. Does not make, he is culpable and he served his time for that. Paul maybe was railroaded for this. I don't know. Or maybe he did it.
Yeah.
Or maybe he did it.
We'll never know, but there were rumors circling around the jailhouse that he was confessing in prison to other murders. How much do you believe in the rumors?
I don't. I actually I do. I will stand by this. I don't think Paul Bateson committed the bag murders. I don't think he did it.
No, I mean, well, do you think in prison he admitted to the murders? Do you think that he did confess in prison?
I think they probably beat the shit out of him. I think that he was probably coerced through force to admit, and I mean, he'd say he was the second coming of God for all we know.
Yeah.
Like he, I think at that point, if you're under so much duress and physical violence, I think you're going to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that the killer is still out there.
I think the one thing in this case that kind of stuck out to me was how he just called a journalist and admitted. So, is it guilt? Is it attention seeking? I don't know. It just seems so odd to me that it felt like something he may have gotten away with, right? We don't know, but he just called and admitted to it.
That's wild, and it's definitely a point of contention. It's a point to think about. I don't know. It's eerie because I know that Friedkin kind of, so the way I think Friedkin talks about it in the interviews that when he's asked about cruising, and again, this is something that came out in the twilight years of Friedkin's life. He lost touch with him, but when he did talk to Bateson at Rikers in the beginning, before he made cruising, Bateson could only confirm that he killed one person. And he could have killed the others, but he didn't remember. And I mean, to me, that's just, it's telling. I think that's extremely important, and especially when we're talking about like police coercion and was this confession strong armed out of this person? And the bag murders still unsolved. So let's talk about this movie.
So here's where the whole story takes sort of a left turn into leather bars.
Yeah, that's not a metaphor either. So, we talked a little earlier that the story was gestating for a while, and Friedkin originally passed on it. So he came back to it. In 1980, good old Billy Friedkin, he drops Cruising. And it's got a stacked cast led by Al Pacino, fresh off of The Godfather, right? So Pacino plays an undercover cop. He's infiltrating New York's gay clubs to catch a serial killer who's targeting men in the scene.
Picture this. Pacino wandering through meatpacking district leather bars like a confused, lost child. It's sweat, chains, poppers, and a lot of men in harnesses giving the "you're definitely a cop" side eye.
Yeah, and a lot of fisting too. So apparently Friedkin, and this is something we'll get to later, Friedkin filmed about 40 minutes of hardcore gay pornography for this movie. And his reasoning was, well, he was kind of like a cinema verite guy, but his reasoning was the MPAA will gravitate towards excising that footage first, and they'll leave the rest of my fucking movie alone. Yeah. So
I was reading about it too, and I mean, they said the scenes were shot on location in real New York City leather bars, including like the mine shaft and the Eagle's Nest.
I think one was called the Ramrod, and the guy who owned the place, his name was I think his name was like Manny the Horse, and they called him that literally because he knocked out a horse with one punch.
Yeah,
I shit you not.
And a lot of the background workers were actual members of the leather and BDSM community. And I don't know how true this is, Mike, but you tell me. They said that there were unsimulated sex acts like being filmed in the movie, but they had to cut it in order to not have an X rating.
Yeah. That was like part of the 40 minutes that Friedkin filmed. filmed.
Okay. I thought maybe that's what you were connecting, but I was just kind of thinking,
no. On the audio commentary, he points it out. Like he kept like the beginning of the scene, and he's like, in full on Billy Friedkin voice. He's like, and this is the fist fucking scene. Yeah.
I mean, I was watching it and I was like, oh, he's like lubing up his fist. Like, are we just doing this in the middle of the room? Okay. Oh yeah, there it goes. I think I would like to just preface this again. It was very sensationalized. When watching the movie, there were some scenes. There was one scene where they're in a diner, and I was thinking, it feels like they literally just walked into a diner and sat down and started filming.
Well, they did. So here was
they didn't buy a location, and that background was just actual people eating some lunch.
No. Here's a crazy thing about Cruising is there were no sets. So everything in Cruising is like New York City from that time. So here's a real wild one. So the chief medical examiner of New York City at the time was Michael Bateson. You might know him, audience, from the HBO series Autopsy that ran for many years in the 90s and early 2000s. Bateson is kind of like the most prolific, pathologist in the media limelight. Whenever any kind of like famous person dies, he's always coming out to air his 2 cents. So Bateson was the chief medical examiner of New York City, and he allowed them to come in and shoot in the actual morgue and autopsy room of the New York City medical examiner's office, right there at downtown. Yeah. And he got fired because of it. So he lost his job. Yeah, he lost his job. They used actual body parts.
For
So here's
the
another.
art of cinema.
Yeah. So cruising, that's not, guys and girls and whoever out there, that is
Days
not
and thems.
days and thems. That's not makeup effects. Those are real body parts. So there you go.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You're looking at real
Okay, because the opening
severed parts.
scene where that arm was there,
Oh, with
and
the
you could
fucking
see the
nasty fingernails.
well, it was like a bone coming out. I was like,
Thrill.
oh my God. I was
Yeah, they
thinking, I was
fired him.
like, that looks authentic.
So I
Maybe
don't know.
it's because they're shooting it on film.
No. That thing probably stunk. That got bad and fired. Like I don't remember if it was the Daily News or if it was the New York Times. Like somebody like did an expose piece on that, and Baden lost his job. But like he has been working in film ever since. Michael Baden, please. We would love to have you on the show. Fear Archive Podcast at gmail.com. Anyway.
Should we run through the whole plot of the movie? Let's run through it real fast because I do want to get into some of the history of what happened during the filming and everything. If you haven't seen Cruising, check it out. But basically, Pacino, he goes undercover because he is trying to find the serial killer in the queer community.
And yeah, so he goes undercover and he's got like this like doomed romance with his girlfriend played by Karen Allen, who you might remember her from she was in The Sandlot, I think, actually. But yeah, so he tries to start to assimilate into this community, and it's tremendously challenging for him.
The movie was loosely based on the 1970 novel by Gerard Walker. The movie takes the broad strokes.
It totally does.
But Friedkin definitely cranked up the grit, the sex, and the violence way beyond the page.
By the way, I just want to say Pacino did not have a mustache in the movie.
Either way, half of the movie looks like Friedkin just lost a bet in a leather bar and just decided to shoot B-roll until Pacino sweated through everything that he was wearing.
Yeah, jockstrap. So can I tell you something? Do you know the jockstrap story with this movie?
Tell me.
Well, Friedkin always talks about, and I do have to say, like, I think William Friedkin, he's kind of like your like grandpa who's just trying to understand everything. Like he has no, I don't know, like he's just genuinely an accepting person, and I think he cared about the queer community. I can't speak for him; he's dead, but like he always, like he was trying, and he would go. So he went to, I think, the Ramrod. And he would say that they would have theme nights, and he went on jockstrap night, and he said, I went in there and just a jockstrap. Can you ever see what Friedkin looked like?
Honestly, I can't even tell you.
It's like just imagine a lot of hanging flesh.
I'm looking
like
at it.
He wasn't a fat man, but just imagine an older.
I do know what he looks like.
Yeah, with those big glasses like this, in a jockstrap. That.
Oh, do you think he dressed up?
He did. He said, I just sat in there in a jockstrap.
With his booty hanging out?
Yeah.
Okay.
With his glasses on like this. Billy Friedkin, that's what they always call him. Everyone always says Billy Friedkin, right? When they refer to him. Mm-hmm. He was like one of those directors that like really got into it. Like, I don't think you could get away with it today. Like, do you know what he used to do with shit? Like to really get people on edge?
What?
He'd shoot off a gun with blanks in it to scare the shit out of people.
Well,
he'd do that on the set of The Exorcist, apparently.
That seems a little crazy and wouldn't really fly in today's age, but hey.
Yeah. They tried to get him to...
Whatever gets you off.
Yeah. He was an interesting director, too. Like, I feel like Friedkin, he had The Exorcist, right? And he has, all these other great movies, but like, I feel like at the end part of his career, like he just kind of disappeared. They wanted him to direct the season finale of True Detective season 2.
Oh, interesting.
That would have been crazy. That was already that show was
Yeah.
already that season was like trying to totally rip off David Lynch. But I actually do like True Detective season 2. I love all of the True Detective seasons. But anyway, I'm digressing too much. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, Cruising got annihilated by the critics. Even during shooting, the LGBTQIA plus community protested. They had picket lines. Activists used mirrors, whistles, and air horns to disrupt takes. There were flyers being put out. And I understand why. And I just want to put us through a little timeline here. It took a long time, and here's to all of the folks before us that really championed the queer community and made it what it is today. So in 1969, that's when Stonewall happened. I think it's an important part of history to look at the context of this movie being shot. So 1969, Stonewall happens. It's a huge movement in the queer community. 1970 is when the book came out. So looking at the timeline, there wasn't much time between. So I understand where the community was coming from, as you're portraying us as violent. You're portraying us as evil and bad. And they're just trying to be viewed as human, right? We shop at grocery stores. We eat the same food. We are humans. And I think we're still dealing with that today, right? Then 1969 Stonewall, 1970 book. 1975 to 1977 is when the Bag murders and Bateson killed the reporter.
And then 1979 is when they made the movie.
And
but
1980 is when it released. So I understand where the community was coming from, right?
And, they also had to contend with the fact that it wasn't just the queer community. It was also the people who, the cisgender males who were harassing Pacino because they found out that he was playing a person going undercover in the leather bars. So they had two different sides of people giving them shit. The sound design is so good in Cruising because they had to do so much sound editing after, because their shoots were ruined by fucking people screaming from both sides, screaming shit to try to sabotage the movie. And that was where Friedkin always pays attention to sound design in his work. The Exorcist, Sorcerer, all of the French Connection, all of these films have incredible sound design. But the sound design in Cruising is unlike any of his other films. The sound of the leather and the chains and the city and the knife stabbing into the bodies. The sound design on Cruising is like Friedkin's work ramped up to 1,000. But that was because it was sad because of what was going on when they were trying to film the fucking movie.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite things while watching this movie is New York City is one of the characters in the film, right?
100%.
And I grew up in New York and lived there for a long time as an adult, and all over the city, and I could point out the different areas. So they're in the woods, and I go, they're in Ramble.
Yeah.
It's a iconic cruising spot, to be quite honest. Not that I went, but
hey, Home Alone 2 reference. Remember when Joe Pesci, when he's like, grown men don't go. What was the line when he's like they reference? I think it's a reference to when Central Park was dangerous, but it's in Home Alone 2.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry.
So I saw the Ramble, and I was like, iconic. I love the Ramble. When I was younger, in my 20s, I'd walk around in the Ramble and maybe, do a little something, and just hang out in the sunshine. It was during the day, y'all. And then also the scene where they're kind of on that like field hill. I used to sit there on a blanket all the time. So I saw these iconic spots, and especially when I lived on the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side. and it was just fun seeing them. Also in Meatpacking District, obviously there's meat hooks and everything, and it's when the Meatpacking District was Meatpacking District. You go there now, and it's just a lot of galleries and high-end boutiques and Soho House. But yeah, it was nice just seeing old New York being old New York.
Yeah, but it was dangerous.
Yeah.
Not that it isn't like any city, I guess, presents an air of danger to it, right? But like there was something so, I don't know, cinematic about 1970s, early 1980s New York City.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about cruising or you're talking about the Warriors or, Wolfen. I was going to mention, Amanda knows how much I love Wolfen, and
Mike knows how I feel about Wolfen.
We have a thing about Wolfen.
It's a great film. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah. Chud is another one of those movies, and that was like another, like you think about Taxi Driver. I guess God, here I am. I'm missing all the major ones like Taxi Driver, King of New York, like New York, all the Scorsese shit. Not shit. It's great stuff, but it's cruising is a time capsule. So, the movie ends. No spoilers too, because I feel like spoiling this movie. Well, we don't want to plant an interpretation of this movie in your mind, but, spoiler alert, this is one of those movies where you can kind of interpret it multiple ways. So, I don't know.
Okay. I do want to touch upon some of the things that while I was watching it. Okay. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when he goes into like a little bodega and the guy working there is explaining what the different color bandanas mean.
Oh yeah.
And then they cut to the next scene, and I was thinking in my head like, well, I know which one he's not gonna choose. Bro walks in with the yellow bandana, which means he wants golden showers. I'm like, Pacino, why are you choosing the most insane one? You want to get pissed on? What is happening?
He's like, hoo-ah! He's like, I want it. That's a couple decades ahead. He's like, hey! He's like,
what is happening?
You know what? It's sterile. It's urine. Hey!
I'm like, why was that the one you chose? Also,
it could have been shit.
I really am interested to see what the actual script looks like, because he barely speaks in the entire movie.
Hey, Amanda, you want to know something about that?
You have it. I know you have.
I'm sending it to you right now.
Oh my God, stop.
Doing it right now.
And then, probably like, I don't know, after the third time he goes to the bar, I'm like, is Pacino fucking? And then they cut to him fucking.
Am I fucking?
And then it cuts to him with his girlfriend, and I'm like,
oh God, yeah, Karen.
But
Karen
I'm also
Allen.
like, girly pop, are you Pacino? Are you getting like real turned on in here, and then going to have sex with your girlfriend?
Well,
as a release.
So, Friedkin also interviewed a detective for this, after the fact. Like, this is like while he was doing his research, like before he filmed the film, he was interviewing an undercover detective who was going in, like, I guess they call it deep cover, right? Like that was not just a cool Lawrence Fishburne movie from the early 90s. But he talked to a detective who went undercover in the scene during the bag murders, and the guy was like questioning everything about his life. He's like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if I like this. I think I like this. And like, questioning his own sexuality and that's real. I mean, he was accessing parts of his mind that I think that he never thought of before that. And it was bringing out feelings, which is valid, totally valid, and interesting. But yeah, so Pacino, that was based on the real detective who Friedkin was kind of like getting all of his real life info from.
Yeah. I do like a part of the movie that I really do enjoy is seeing all the queer men, and although everything was like turned up a million, it was nice just seeing regular men, although they were all in, their leather daddy outfits. But like, seeing them, it's just like normal humans just loving each other and fucking and getting sexy. But like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, because if you look at queer films today, there's so many like stereotypical type of gay. There's lots of, if you don't know, if no one's educated in queer community, there's a lot of different types of gay men. But this was just like a room full of men. I mean, it felt crowded. It felt authentic in that way, that you were in a very crowded environment. I don't know where I'm trying to get at, but I enjoyed that part of it. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying. I'm rambling.
No, I connect to what you're saying. I 100%. I hear you. Like there is a sense of like a fly on the wall vibe with Cruising that I love. That like, I feel like people try to replicate. And look, let's talk about it. Let's talk about. I don't know if this is the elephant in the room, but like let's talk about when James Franco tried to remake the deleted scenes of this movie. I do not know James Franco.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I don't know James Franco.
I don't. He did that.
Yes, it was called the Interior Leather Bar. And he went to William Friedkin and he said, I want to remake the 40 minutes of footage that you cut from this movie. And William Friedkin was like, it was hardcore gay sex. That's what he said to him. He said, it was a fist fucking scene. And Franco... So then James Franco...
it was a long hold on looping up that fist.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole scene.
It was...
He loves to... God, I wish I got to meet William Franco. I called him William Franco. I'm sorry. I wish I got to meet William Friedkin. I wish I got to moderate William Friedkin and James Franco together in a conversation. That would be like my brain would melt. Okay. And then you got to throw Dave in there too. But
Dave was nothing to do with this probably. But getting back into it.
Yes.
One other part from the movie that was an insane shot to me was on the subway, or it was some mass transit, and this guy's holding this newspaper, and in big block letters on the front, a headline that says, "Gay killer still at large."
Oh man.
Anyway, I don't know.
But it was like so a sensational shit like that. I also wonder, like, was that a nod to, again, another kind of like murky, creepy New York City movie? Like, was that a nod to Rosemary's Baby when she's sitting down in the doctor's office and someone's holding up, it's not a newspaper, it's Time magazine, but it's like, God is dead. Like, is that a nod to Polanski? Oh, interestingly enough, and I'm going to shut up because I got to say this for our Entity episode.
I think, well, then don't say it. I think it was probably just a way to communicate it without saying it, but
maybe that's what the headlines were just like back then. I mean, it still are. I mean, there's a fear cycle, right? Like it's like breeding the fear. At the time of this film, New York City was called Fear City. It was a scary place, right? It's scary if you didn't know how to navigate it. You had the Bronx on fire and burning down. You had a lot of murders. You had corruption. You had blackouts. You had lots of weird shit that you couldn't control, right? So it was just better to, I don't know, people tune in when they're afraid, right? Like they want to be scared. Do we innately want to be scared? So I don't know. I want to backtrack to something you said earlier. You mentioned like modern queer cinema, right? Like what? I don't know. What was influenced by Cruising? Like what could have been a film or even like television that was like influenced by Cruising? Because I feel like a lot of stuff was influenced by Cruising. I feel like Cruising is one of those things that's a game changer in terms of just aesthetic and story.
So let's look at The Murder and Cruising together.
Sure.
They really obviously pulled a lot from The Real Murder, cranked up some of the other things like the queerness of it to 1,000. What do you think was really pulled from the case and put into the movie? film and put into the film.
To be entirely honest with you, what I feel was pulled into the film was just the fact that there was someone murdering people and dumping their body into the river. It's a great jumping off point for this, though.
Mm-hmm.
Something with cruising that I didn't realize until recent years is that there isn't just one killer in cruising. There are multiple. And that's fucking horrifying. And I don't think another movie has done that since Cruising. And I think that that's why Cruising is just so unique and so terrifying, is the fact that it's just like there's this general plot of this detective interacting with this underworld or this nightlife that he doesn't understand, but there are multiple killers at work, which is wild because it's so accurate, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know Scream.
Yeah.
If Scream taught us anything in Scream 2, and he's like, the FBI indicates that there are, at any given time, 75 or 95 active serial killers at any given moment, right? Like, Jesus Christ, all at once in New York City in the gay scene in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think this really does tie into the entire murder and in the film because, like we said earlier, it's kind of doubtful that he was actually Paul was actually the bag murderer, or that he's actually a serial killer.
100%.
I think something interesting to look at in the film is how they were interrogating, even though they knew Pacino was obviously an undercover police officer. And the guy, first of all, the guy coming in slapping him, that was insane. That was crazy. I'm like, what is happening? What is this fever dream? What? You just have this giant man coming in and slapping the shit out of everyone. And he was in a jockstrap too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Or topless. I can't quite remember, but
you had so many great character actors in this movie. You had
I was
Paul
very
Sorvino, you had
confused. I'm
Joe
like,
Spinell.
why is this happening? But anyway, in that interrogation, they were physical, they were violent, they were trying to get him to admit to something that person didn't actually do. So it is interesting to then think about the actual murder and them trying to break him to get him to admit you were the bag murderer.
Just trying to clear a case, right? We're trying to,
like we said.
Yeah.
And I just think how many more cases were that way? How many more folks were even innocent people, right? Where they're just forced, and obviously we know this history,
many more.
Exactly. We know this is true, and there are certain communities that are, marginalized, that are pushed into these false, admittance of violence and crime. But yeah, just an interesting thing to think about. The other thing I was thinking about as we were talking, those sex scenes in the bar, club, whatever you consider it, that was pre-AIDS.
Yeah. Friedkin actually talks about that on the audio commentary for Cruising. He talks about how like they didn't know what it was, but there was this whole fear that something was killing men in that scene, and they didn't know what it was.
It's kind of an interesting take on the AIDS crisis blooming.
Yes.
Talks about it in the community before it was really a widespread conversation across the country. And I wonder if there was any sort of like subplot in the story that you could take away from that. The silent killer. right?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think like this was
Probably
literally
not,
the
but
now.
I'm
Yeah,
just being hopeful and pulling at something that's not there, but
but it's important and it's
yeah.
valid and it's interesting to consider. And I just think that this was so like we're literally like months away. Like when movie was probably being released, we were
Mm-hmm.
months away from that really kind of starting to come into
Yeah.
fruition. you know but what do I know? Like I don't. I mean, this is just all around a really terrifying story. So why don't we talk about like connections here? Like, would you say cruising is connected to reality? Was this a what are we looking at? Like, did this happen?
I think there are truths within the chaos that is cruising. Um Cruising, like I said it a bunch of times, it is just ramped up to 1,000. He really turned that knob all the way to max. Um and I think the murders happened, obviously. Um but I don't
Do you think Paul Bateson killed all of those men?
no.
Same.
No. And I think that in the film, that's probably what was being communicated in that interrogation scene.
Yeah, there were multiple killers in Cruising.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I really don't think that Paul Paul did it. I think he did the one because he admitted to it. But even then, I'm like, what? I still just think, why would you admit to it?
Fear.
Yeah,
I think he
perhaps.
was afraid that if he didn't do it, they would have fucking killed him.
Who?
The police.
Hmm.
I'm sure they like were shaking him down something unmercifully.
Yeah.
But listen, did he actually, I mean, he confessed to a murder. Like he says he knows he killed one
Mm-hmm.
person. So he should, be justice should be served. He took a life, right? Like that is, but he paid he served his time for that murder of Addison Verrill, right? He served his time for that. He was released. He took ownership of what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think the rest of those men. I agree with you. I don't think he killed the rest of them. I think the killer's still out there. For all we
So,
know. For all we know, Amanda,
yeah.
he could be listening right now.
I mean, he might be, maybe even Pacino.
Imagine that.
You know, it's interesting seeing uh Al Pacino in this role. And
One for them, one for me. They made me do Scarface next.
I think so. One of my favorite scenes in the movie was when he finally starts to. I mean, the whole time, every time he's going into these clubs, he is just like so serious, and it's like, bro, can you do this a little better? Come on. Like, act natural. What are you doing? Like, I know everyone's just like fucking around you, but like, can you try to act interested? So, one of my favorite scenes is when he actually is on the dance floor and I imagine that maybe it was a popper. I'm not really sure what they gave him, but I think maybe it was poppers. And then he starts dancing and just getting into it and feeling himself and having fun. Because I think at the end of the day, that's kind of the uh, parts of this that folks had issues with, right? Where it's like, yeah, everyone's just going there to fuck. But it's really like, no, like you can still go there and have fun and dance and just be a human. Like stop being such a weirdo and just like have a good time.
He's a cop. That's the thing. Like no matter what, his character's still he's like right. Like
Yeah.
he he can't get past the fact that he's an undercover cop. And like I remember, right, like with the movie, this is like his first big gig as an undercover cop, right? Like he's shitty. He's like shitty at his job as he's learning it, and like he slowly gets entwined in it, and he realizes like by the end of the movie that like this is this lifestyle too. So it's like definitely something to be said about like people who have to do that kind of work, which I definitely could never do that. Like be an undercover cop and like
no, and he was risking it all to go have sex with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
The entire investigation. I'm like, what are you doing?
He's like,
I'm not an undercover detective, and I know that you're not supposed to do that.
Oh man, but Pacino, man, apparently, I don't know him. I don't know what his life is like, but like apparently he was like kind of like a little bit of a problem making this movie. Like it was like a culture shock for him making this film, and it was a little bit of a problem. And then you get someone like Billy Friedkin who was very volatile in his directing, and like you put two of those people together and it's like complete chaos. So they call this a cursed production. Like Cruising was historically it is historically recognized as a cursed production. Like it had a lot of problems. Friedkin in his attempt for like authenticity, would really rattle a lot of cages and throw people through loops. But ultimately, look at what we're left with. We were left with like this masterclass in fucking dread.
Yeah.
So here's where we're left, right? Paul Bateson, 1 confirmed murder, 6 unresolved bag murders, and a director who turned the whole thing into an art house fever dream.
Was Bateson a scapegoat for a city looking for answers? Or was he the shadow in the bars, the man behind the plastic bags?
We'll probably never know. But somewhere at the bottom of the Hudson, those answers are still waiting.
So the bag murders remain unsolved. Bateson's out there somewhere. And Cruising exists.
I bet you were waiting for me to say thefeararchive@gmail.com, Paul Bateson. I want to talk to you.
Slide into our DMs.
Yeah. Please, Paul. Paul, my ear, it's big for you, buddy. Yeah, but if you ask me, the real crime was putting Al Pacino in leather pants without a safe word, man.
What do you think his safe word would be?
Hooah! He's like, I don't know. One day that's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back. I'm gonna be able to put that into a movie. Hooah!
I can't remember what.
Scent of a Woman, which is kind of a creepy title. It sounds.
I can't remember what movie it is, but it was a comedy where he was doing a Dunkin' Donuts commercial, and his whole thing was like a cappuccino Pacino. Like it was so funny and stupid. I feel like it was the movie Jack and Jill or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like so insane.
I forgot that him and Adam Sandler worked on a movie together. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway. I want another Al Pacino, man. He just keeps going.
Yeah.
He keeps going. I actually love The Devil's Advocate.
Hey, Mike.
Another great new. Yes.
What's a movie that you would recommend?
With Cruising? Like if you really liked Cruising?
Maybe another queer film, anything.
I will always say this because not enough people know of this filmmaker outside of like people who follow the queer community in film, but Greg Araki and his Doom trilogy, or his I think it's called the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy. So it starts with a film called Totally Fucked Up. It's Totally Fucked Up, The Doom Generation, and Nowhere. I highly recommend it. It's the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy by Greg Araki. It's like, it blends everything too. It's like coming of age story. It's horror. It's, it's wonderful. Very interesting. Not sponsored by them, but highly recommend you get the Criterion Channel subscription, and you can check it out right now. I think it's kind of like going to, it's going to be one of those things that they sort of keep in perpetuity. So you should definitely check them out. It's different than Cruising. Cruising is like also kind of like a little bit of a neo-noir. So if that's your thing, and you really did love Cruising, I recommend following it up with maybe a revisit of David Fincher's Seven. They both kind of like there's a little overlap. They're an interesting make different movies, but would
What's
make for
in
an
the
interesting
box?
right. Makes for an interesting double feature though.
All right. Thanks for the recos. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Fear Archive. If you like what we do here, the best way to support us is to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It really helps us find new listeners.
Yeah, and this is, your resident motard, meaning bad biker or biker, saying follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Fear Archive Pod for episode updates, behind-the-scenes weirdness, and occasional cursed movie posters. Shit, I haven't seen one cursed movie poster yet. But when I do, I will make sure you people see it and I don't.
And if you got a theory on the bag murders, Cruising, or what's really at the bottom of the Hudson, slide into those DMs and let us know.
Yeah, and Paul, I want to hear from you, dude. Just please, I want to hear Paul Bateson.
I don't.
Paul Bateson,
I'm
please,
okay.
please reach out to me. Please. All right, anyway.
All right, guys. See you
Bye.
next time.
You've been listening to The Fear Archive, hosted by Amanda Kagawada and Michael Ryan Aesop, produced by Cassie Josephove, with original music by Umberto. This podcast is a production of Violet Hour Media.